Now, a craving is simply a motivation towards a specific group of foods that you just love to eat. It's important to note that we don't control cravings. However, we can control our behavior. And in this video, I'm going to outline a few things that you can do that is going to help you control that behavior. Now, when we eat food, what happens? Well, we ingest it, so we bring it into our mouth, it goes down our throat, then into our digestive tract, so our stomach, and then our small intestine. Now, on the food substances, they will often contain glutamate, salt, sugar, fats, protein. It will then send a signal to the brain that will then activate the dopamine receptors. What actually happens is it will go to a certain part of the brain called the ventral tegmental area. And then in that ventral tegmental area, there's a thing called the ventral stratum or striatum. Now, it's important to note that this is one of the key dopamine parts of the brain that is activated upon consuming something that is delicious. This is also the part of the brain that is responsible for when you have sex, when you gamble, when you're motivated to complete something, and also cravings. When dopamine hits the ventral striatum, what actually then happens is we have a heightened amount of motivation. Think of it quite simply as the experiment with Ivan Pavlov in Pavlov's dog, where Ivan Pavlov gave a bunch of dogs some food and then associated the food with a bell and then took out the food and just rang the bell, and the dogs still salivated thinking that they were going to get fed. When dopamine strikes the brain, we then associate that sensory experience with the shape, the size, the smell, the location we were in when we consumed it, and we actually store that as memory. So, for example, if we're at our favorite In-N-Out burger and we're around a bunch of our friends, we're having the best time, you know, we've got the animal fries, we've got the double burger, and we're just like gorging it, we're smiling, we're laughing, you know, we're going to associate that positive experience with that burger. And what's actually crazy about that is at that specific hour of that specific day, on another day, we'll then begin to have a craving. Now, the thing about our food technology experts is that they make these food substances so addictive by adding all of these things that spike our dopamine that make us want to come back more and consume more because it's profitable in the long term but detrimental to our health in the long term. And as a consequence, once this dopamine is spiked, it's actually going to drive our behavior to then becoming a returning customer. Now, there's three key things that you want to look out for when it comes to highly addictive foods, and that is hyper-palatable, hyper-refined, and hyper-dense in calories. So what that means is they're very easy to eat, they're high in calories, and they're easily digestible, so we can digest it very quickly, and therefore we're going to need more of it. Now, I want you to think about when you're on your morning commute and you look out the window of your car or the train or whatever transport you're on, and you'll see a gorgeous woman holding onto a burger and she's smiling. She's got like the whitest teeth you've ever seen that were going to blind you, and you just can't help but feel an urge or some form of irresistibility to have that. Now, marketing and advertising is partly to blame for eliciting those triggers and responses in you, so then you do go out and you do spend your bank on all the food so you feel better and satisfied. You get that dopamine hit and you go through with that decision to binge. Now, I want you just to like think for 1 second, what is that food that you have, right? I know mine. I know exactly what mine are. Mine are Magnum ice cream. Oh, chocolate Magnum ice cream is just heaven. Heaven on earth. Absolute heaven. So think about it for a second. What are those foods that you crave, that you desire? Like you want more than life itself. I can definitely tell you that it's not a carrot, it's not a celery stick, it's not an apple, it's not a banana, it's not sweet potato, it's none of those things, right? Because they don't hit dopamine hard enough in the brain, okay? So it's important to be mindful that burgers, pizza, ice cream, muffins, croissants, they are all hitting your dopamine levels extremely hard. And the more you do it, the more addicted, yes, addicted you become to those foods. The USDA of 2016, with their dietary nutrition guidelines, outline the most amount of foods consumed to the least amount of foods consumed. Now, as you can imagine, topping the charts at number 1 was the grain-based dessert. So we're talking all those cakes, those croissants, all of those things that people just absolutely love and will die for. Coming in second was the yeasty breads, savory foods that people just desire and want more of. Coming in third is my good mate, the Colonel, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. The Colonel's 11 secret herbs and spices were number 3 for the most consumed food in America in 2016. Number 4 was energy drinks. Number 5 was pizza. Number 6 was alcohol. Now, most foods that I mentioned are eliciting a massive amount of dopamine hits in that ventral striatum. So how do we actually counter that? What are some preventative measures that we can take to limit that exposure, make us less susceptible to giving into those cravings? Well, in this video, I'm going to outline 5 for you right now.